What's up, everybody? Got another exciting video for you today because we're going to be taking a look at a couple more of these Mego action figures. And these are the ones that are done in sort of retro style packaging as part of their 50th anniversary series. So what we've got here is the Joker and the Reverse Flash, two DC villains. And I'm very excited to have added these to my collection. These are fairly new. I think these came out maybe just a few months ago. So very excited to have these. I actually ordered these from ZLC Collectibles, and you might have seen the unboxing that I did of a bunch of Mego stuff that I actually ordered from them. So far, I've been having pretty good experiences ordering stuff from them. So, and they had these two that I definitely wanted to add to my collection. Now, later on in the video, we're going to get these out of the package, and I'm going to do side-by-side comparisons between the versions that Mego has produced and versions of these type of characters that were produced by Figures Toy Company that I also have in my collection. But first, let's take a look at the packages themselves. As you can see, this is done in that sort of retro style, very much in keeping with the way that these were originally packaged in the 1970s. Originally, they sold these things in these boxed form, and eventually they transitioned over to doing carded figures, just because the overall convenience of hanging things on pegs was easier to actually display them for the stores. So, but I love this box approach. It actually makes it very easy to take these out of the package without actually destroying the package. And it should be noted, even though this has that sort of retro look to it, they are using the modern Mego body as the basis for this. So this has a different level of articulation by comparison to the original vintage version. And you can see on the side of the box, you got pictures of other characters. So that's very cool. And also, they reproduced the original artwork for the Joker here in the back of the box. So I think that looks excellent. And they've also got these sort of retro logos as well, very much in keeping with the way they looked back in the 1970s. More pictures of characters here on the sides of the box. So looks really great, and I'm very happy to have more of these characters from the DC universe in my collection. And over here on the Reverse Flash, as you can see, also done in that sort of retro style packaging. So looking very cool. So even though this is done in sort of retro style, this is not a reproduction of an original version of Reverse Flash, because I don't think they actually did Reverse Flash back in the original Mego collection. So this is a new character done in that sort of retro style. So that's kind of an interesting approach. Again, you can see pictures of other characters on the sides of the box and some artwork depicting the character here on the back of the box. So that looks really great. And again, more pictures of characters on the sides of the box. So looks really cool, and I'm glad they did this sort of retro style of the packaging, and but also included a different character from the original series. I believe they did the regular version of the Flash as well in the 50th anniversary. I don't have the entire collection, so I haven't really been keeping track. But they have been reproducing quite a few of these characters from the DC universe, and trying to keep that kind of retro look and feel to the packaging and also the rendering of the figure. So both these look really great in the package, but I'm anxious to get these out of the package. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so we got these two figures out of the package now, and we'll start over here with the Joker. And overall, it does really have that sort of retro look to it. As you can see, there's pretty nice tailoring in terms of the jacket and so forth. And you can see it extends down in the back here too. So that looks very cool. One thing I want to mention, so the entire figure here is actually cast in a white plastic. So that makes it different from some of the other Mego figures where, you know, you'd have the white gloved hands, but then the rest of the body would be, you know, cast in sort of a flesh color. So, but in the case of this one, they actually did all white. So that's kind of interesting. Might be useful in terms of customization in case you wanted to do something with a character where you needed that sort of all white body. And like I mentioned, this does include the extra articulation. In terms of the elbows, they get not only bending back and forth, but also the side-to-side rotation. And same thing with the knees. So these will bend and also have rotation. The flaw still exists with these knees, though. However, they don't bend back far enough. So that's about the full extent of the bend, which is not as significant as on some of the earlier Mego figures. So they still have yet to resolve that in this particular wave, but I have assurances from people who work for Mego that they're actually going to resolve that in the future releases. So that's very cool. This also has articulation at the ankles too, back and forth and also side to side. So definitely some improvements over the original Mego body. This is also a bandless body, so there are no elastic bands holding it together. So maybe less likely to fall apart over time due to degradation of the elastic. So that's kind of cool. Now, in terms of the outfit, what I did notice by comparison to my other version of the Joker, which I'll show you right now. So this is the one, I still have it in the package. This came in a multi-pack with a bunch of other DC villains. And you can see the rendering of it is similar, but I did notice that the detailing on the Figures Toy Company version on the inner part of his outfit is actually a little bit more detailed. So there are certain advantages in having this version. And I noticed somewhat of a difference in terms of the rendering of the face. It's a little bit more elongated, and the mouth does appear to be slightly larger on the Mego version. So those were the significant differences in terms of what I noticed. There's also, again, the tailoring on the jacket is definitely different by comparison to the Figures Toy Company version. And so, yeah, there are some differences, but both of these versions do kind of capture that sort of retro look. Very much in keeping with the look of these characters from the 1970s. So that's very cool. Now, in terms of Reverse Flash, I can show you what this figure looks like up close. And they did a pretty good job just in terms of the overall sculpting of the head and everything. I think that looks very cool. And they did the emblem as a sticker, so to keep it consistent with the other figures in the series. And I did notice some differences in terms of the boots on this. By comparison to my version of the Flash, which I got from Figures Toy Company, I can bring that in and show you side by side what these two look like together. I do like the rendering of the uniform, the outfit on the Figures Toy Company version. But what you'll notice in terms of detailing on the head, the details are much more sharp on the Mego version versus the Figures Toy Company. This one also has these sort of gloved hands, whereas they use the original sculpted hands. It should be noted on this figure, this one does have a flesh tone body, so it's not all cast in yellow. So it's just the yellow of the cowl on the head and also the gloves that are done in yellow. And what you'll notice is in terms of the boots, so this Mego version actually has a unique style boot by comparison to the Figures Toy Company version. Basically just has this sort of standard superhero boot on the Flash. I haven't picked up a version of the Flash by Mego, so I don't know if this style of boot is used on other figures or not. It does include treads on the bottom, so that's a pretty cool detail as well. So overall, really cool looking figure. Not too much in terms of the outfit. It's pretty straightforward, but has enough detail in it to consider it a very worthy addition to my collection. So I'm very excited to have this, and excited to have a nice villain for the Flash as well. That's all I have for you today. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more reviews of Mego action figures in the future, think about subscribing to my channel, because I will be covering more of this kind of material in future videos. Until next time, I hope you're having a great day, and thanks for watching.